Welcome! Today we're going to talk about healthy coping strategies, building a more resilient you. Imagine you're going to take a raft trip down a river. Along with slow water and shallows, your map shows that you will encounter unavoidable rapids and turns. How would you make sure you can safely cross the rough waters and handle any unexpected problems that come from the challenge? Perhaps you would enlist the support of more experienced rafters as you plan your route, or rely on the companionship of trusted friends along the way. Maybe you would pack an extra life jacket or consider using a stronger raft. With the right tools and supports in place, one thing is sure. You will not only make it through the challenges of your river adventure, you will also emerge a more confident and courageous rafter. Life may not come with a map, but everyone will experience twists and turns, from everyday challenges to more traumatic events with lasting impact, like the death of a loved one, a life-altering accident, or even a serious illness. Each change affects people differently, bringing a unique flood of thoughts, strong emotions, and uncertainty. Yet people generally adapt well over time to life-changing situations and stressful situations, in part thanks to resilience. Psychologists define resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. As much as resilience involves bouncing back from these difficult experiences, it can also involve profound personal growth. While these adverse events, much like the rough river waters, are certainly painful and difficult, they don't have to determine the outcome of your life. There are aspects of your life you can control, modify, and grow with. That's the role of resilience. Becoming more resilient not only helps you get through difficult circumstances, it also empowers you to grow and even improve your life along the way. Being resilient doesn't mean that a person won't experience difficulty or distress. People who have suffered major adversity or trauma in their lives commonly experience emotional pain and stress. In fact, the road to resilience is likely to involve considerable emotional distress. While certain factors might make some individuals more resilient than others, resilience isn't necessarily a personality trait that only some people possess. On the contrary, resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. The ability to learn resilience is one reason research has shown that resilience is ordinary, not extraordinary. Like building a muscle, increasing your resilience takes time and intentionality. There are 4 components to building resilience that we're going to focus on: connection, wellness, meaning, and healthy thinking. These 4 components can empower you to withstand and learn from difficult and traumatic experiences. To increase your capacity for resilience to weather and grow from the difficulties, use these strategies. Building a strong support network is essential for teens to develop positive and resilient characteristics. Connecting with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone in the midst of difficulties. Focus on finding trustworthy and compassionate individuals who validate your feelings, which will in turn support the skill of resilience. The pain of traumatic events can lead some people to isolate themselves, but it's important to accept help and support from those who care about you. Try to genuinely prioritize connecting with people who care about you. Along with one-on-one relationships, some people find that being active in civic groups, faith-based communities, or other local organizations provides social supports and can help reclaim hope. Research groups in your area that could offer you support and a sense of purpose or joy when you need it. Teens can develop resilience by practicing self-care and self-awareness. Self-care may be a popular buzzword, but it's also a legitimate practice for mental health and building resilience. That's because stress is just as much physical as it is emotional. Promoting positive lifestyle factors like proper nutrition, ample sleep, hydration, and regular exercise can strengthen your body to adapt to stress and reduce the toll of emotions like anxiety or depression. Practice mindfulness. Focus on positive aspects of your life and recall the things that you're grateful for, even during personal trials. It may be tempting to mask your pain with alcohol, drugs, or other substances, but that's like putting a bandage on a deep wound. Focus instead on giving your body resources to manage stress, rather than seeking to eliminate the feelings of stress altogether. Encourage a positive outlook by embracing challenges as opportunities to grow from. Whether you volunteer with a local homeless shelter or simply support a friend in their own time of need, you can garner a sense of purpose, foster self-worth, connect with other people, and tangibly help others, all of which can empower you to grow in resilience. It's helpful to acknowledge and accept your emotions during hard times, but it's also important to help you foster self-discovery by asking yourself, what can I do about a problem in my life? If the problems seem too big to tackle, break them down into manageable pieces. Develop some realistic goals and do something regularly, even if it seems like a small accomplishment that enables you to move toward the things you want to accomplish. Instead of focusing on tasks that seem unachievable, ask yourself, what's one thing I know I can accomplish today that helps me move in the direction I want to go? For example, if you're struggling with the loss of a loved one and want to move forward, you could join a grief support group in your area. People often find that they have grown in some respect as a result of a struggle. For example, after a tragedy or hardship, people have reported better relationships and a greater sense of strength, even while being vulnerable. That can increase their sense of self-worth and heighten their appreciation for life. Positive thinking can reduce stress, improve moods, and increase your overall well-being. How you think can play a significant part in how you feel and how resilient you are when faced with obstacles. Try to identify areas of irrational thinking, such as a tendency to catastrophize difficulties or assume that the world is out to get you, and adopt a more balanced and realistic thinking pattern. For instance, if you feel overwhelmed by a challenge, remind yourself that what happened to you isn't an indicator of how your future will go and that you're not helpless. You may not be able to change a highly stressful event, but you can change how you interpret and respond to it. Accept that change is a part of life. Certain goals or ideals may no longer be attainable as a result of adverse situations in your life. Accepting circumstances that cannot be changed can help you focus on circumstances that you can alter. It's hard to be positive when life isn't going your way. An optimistic outlook empowers you to expect that good things will happen to you. Try visualizing what you want, rather than worrying about what you fear. Along the way, note any subtle ways in which you start to feel better as you deal with difficult situations. By looking back at who or what was helpful in previous times of distress, you may discover how you can respond effectively to new difficult situations. Remind yourself of where you've been able to find strength and ask yourself what you've learned from those experiences. Getting help when you need it is crucial in building your resilience. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. For many people, using their own resources and the kinds of strategies that we've talked about may be enough for building their resilience. But at times, an individual might get stuck or have difficulty making progress on the road to resilience. Please remember to reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or professionals when facing these challenges. Now it is time for the Resiliency Challenge. I need everybody to get out a piece of paper. On your paper, I need you to break it up into fourths. So you're going to have 4 separate boxes on your paper. In the top box, I want you to write the component that we talked about earlier, building connections. So go ahead and write building connections. In the next box, you're going to write the second component that we talked about, which was fostering wellness. So everybody write fostering wellness in your second box. Now remember, you accepted the challenge. The third box, you're going to write finding purpose. That was our third component that was talked about, finding purpose. Thank you guys for writing it so quickly. And in the last box, you should write embrace healthy thoughts, which is a really important component. Again, in the last box, you are writing the word embrace healthy thoughts. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a couple more seconds to make sure they've written everything. Do not worry, you do not have to share if you don't want to share. This is just for you, but I need you to participate. I am proud of you for accepting this challenge and splitting your paper into fourths and writing the different components there to help you build resiliency. So for the challenge, we're going to talk about that first box that says build your connections. So the challenge is to write something in that box that you are going to do either today, tomorrow, within the next couple of days. You're just going to challenge yourself to try to build some connections. Because when we build those connections, we're building resiliency and we're building our support that we have in our lives. So let's think about ways we can build connections. Some examples may be just saying hi to people as you pass them by in the hallway, or even smiling at someone as you pass them by. You could invite someone new to sit at your lunch table. You could just randomly text some of your friends, just something nice. Or make a plan to meet up with one of your friends that you really haven't hung out with in a while. Or you could come up with your own idea. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about how you can build connections, whether you're at school, after school, at home, with family members. Think about ways that you can build that connection. Okay, I hope you wrote something down for building connections, because now we're going to move on to the next component, which is fostering wellness. fostering wellness is all about self-care. What can you do for yourself? Again, I want you to think of something that you can either do today, the next day, within the next week, just for you. So some ideas might be to treat yourself. Just treat yourself that it's a Wednesday and I deserve to have that chocolate chip cookie in the lunchroom. Or maybe I deserve that new t-shirt that I've been wanting to buy. You could take a new exercise class. If there's a sport you really like doing and you just don't have time for it, make time. Make time to go to the beach. Listen to some music you like. Even ask for help if that's what you need. So let's take another minute and think about ways that you can foster wellness. The next component that we are going to talk about is finding purpose. So we talked a little bit about that, how finding your purpose can help you build your resiliency. Different ways that you can find purpose is maybe you can volunteer. I know you need hours anyway if you're in high school, so this is a great way to do two things at once. So if you like animals, you can volunteer in an animal shelter. We have lots of nursing homes that need volunteers. Pick out something that you would like to do to help somebody else. If you don't feel comfortable going out volunteering, you can ask your teacher or your parent or someone in your neighborhood if there's a project that you could do for them. Just take time, maybe just to reflect on what is your why. Come up with your why. What is your purpose? If you have a big problem that you've been putting off, try to tackle that problem by breaking it into manageable parts. Don't ignore it. It's not going away. Make a goal for yourself. What's something that you want to do every day? Maybe you want to just make a goal to exercise for 3 days. Maybe you want to read every night. See if you can make a goal and just follow it for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe even a month. Listen to a podcast or program. Learn something new. Find a new hobby. So these are just some examples of ways you can find your purpose. But of course, if you have something else that you would like to do, please write that down. What is a way that you could find your purpose and build your resiliency? And the final component is embracing healthy thoughts, which I know is something that we probably all need to work on, even myself. So I want you to think about how we can do that. And you're going to write that way on your piece of paper. So one way you can do it is to keep a gratitude journal. If you don't want to write, you can even just say it every night. Just come up with 3 things that you're grateful for today. You don't have to write them in a journal, even if you just go over that list. And it doesn't have to be huge things that happen in your day. It can be the very small things that are meaningful. Someone picking up a paper that you dropped, someone buying you a candy bar, someone saying that you look nice today. Those are all things that you could be grateful for. If you have a hard time forgiving yourself for making mistakes, practice forgiving yourself. Tell yourself you're not going to be so hard on yourself when you make mistakes. It's a part of life, and it's going to help you to grow and to change. And everyone makes mistakes. They talked about this in the video of visualizing what you want rather than worrying about what you fear. So you can make it a practice if you start worrying about something to stop the worrying and start visualizing what I want rather than focusing on that fear. Sometimes you just need to be able to accept change. It is what it is. So being able to accept it and moving on is a great way to embrace those healthy thoughts. These are just some ideas, but take a minute or two and think about how you can do better this week in embracing healthy thoughts.
In this lesson, we will learn about suicide, but even more importantly about suicide prevention. We cannot always prevent or remove suffering, but we can provide hope and support resiliency by learning more about suicide and how to help those we care about to find their reasons for living. We will learn about clues and behaviors known as warning signs that might indicate someone is thinking about suicide, and what you can do if you are concerned about someone. We will get to know the resources that are available where you can learn more about suicide prevention and to get help for yourself or someone else. Before we get started, we know that suicide is a heavy topic. You may know someone who has thought of suicide, attempted suicide, or died by suicide. You may have had these thoughts yourself. You may need to take a break during this presentation. Please signal your teacher quietly if you need a break during the presentation. If you need to see your counselor during or after the presentation, let your teacher know. There are several specially trained people at your school who can help you, not just today, but whenever you or one of your classmates are struggling. At your school, you have school counselors, a school social worker, and a school psychologist. All of these people are trained to listen to students and to make sure students get the help they need. You also have school resource officers who are trained to respond when a student is in immediate danger of harming themselves. Please let your teachers know if you need to meet with your counselor or other student services staff. Or you can ask at the office how to schedule an appointment with them directly. Talk to your parents and make sure they know how you're feeling and can help you find additional support when needed. It's important to know what we're talking about when we say suicide, suicide attempt, and suicidal ideation. Suicide is defined as death caused by self-directed injurious behavior with intent to die as a result of the behavior. A suicide attempt is a non-fatal, self-directed, potentially injurious behavior with intent to die as a result of the behavior. A suicide attempt might not result in injury. Suicidal ideation refers to thinking about, considering, or planning suicide. You may be wondering how suicide and suicide prevention impact you. You may be thinking, why do I need to learn about suicide prevention? Did you know that for middle and high school aged youth, ages 12 to 18, suicide is the second leading cause of death? Did you know that more teenagers and young adults die from suicide than from cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, stroke, pneumonia, influenza, and chronic lung disease combined. Did you know each day in our nation there are an average of over 3,703 attempts by young people, grades 9 to 12? Before we get started, let's talk about language. The words we use can have a significant impact on the way messages are received. Messages can either encourage someone to reach out, or they can push them further from the support they need. One phrase that's often used is committed suicide. It is recommended to avoid this term because the term committed is most often associated with criminal actions. Framing suicide this way can bring about feelings of shame, guilt, or stigma that can be hurtful to lost survivors, or inadvertently reinforce a negative bias, preventing people from reaching out for help. You also may have heard people refer to a successful or an unsuccessful suicide attempt, but there is no success or lack of success when talking about suicide. These actions should be referred to clearly as a death by suicide or an attempted suicide. Using this phrasing helps to remove the shame and stigma. Historically, and even today, suicide carries a lot of stigma, prejudice, and fear. People who are thinking about suicide may be hesitant to tell someone about their thoughts or reach out for help for fear that others may think less of them. They may be worried about how it will affect their family and relationships or even their employment. They may fear becoming a burden to their loved ones. Some may doubt that anything can be done to help them and think, so why bother? It can help to understand that people who are having thoughts of suicide are experiencing intense emotional pain. Most of the time, they don't want to die, but they can't see a way out of the pain and don't feel like they can continue living with it. Not wanting to live is different than wanting to die. We can reduce the stigma and fear around suicide by increasing our knowledge and educating others. When you feel more confident to talk directly about suicide, you are better able to get help for yourself or for someone you are concerned about. There are steps we can all take to support suicide prevention. Know the warning signs of suicide. Educate yourself about the magnitude of the problem, the signs of concern, and the tools of prevention. Be willing to ask directly if someone you care about is showing warning signs. Be there for a friend by being observant, asking questions, listening, responding, and getting help for your friend. Stay calm and find a trusted adult. Never keep a friend's suicidal thoughts to yourself. Know who you can turn to for help and guidance, such as a parent, teacher, coach, or a trusted adult to seek professional help. If it is an emergency situation, call 911. It is likely that a friend will share suicidal thoughts with you before, if ever, telling an adult. It is important, even if your friend asks you not to say anything, that you tell a trusted adult right away. It is better to have a friend upset with you and then to get the help they need. They will forgive you, and eventually, it is likely they will thank you. It is important that you do not carry a friend's suicidal ideation on your shoulders alone. The best way you can prevent suicide among your peers is to tell an adult immediately if someone tells you they are thinking about suicide or are struggling, so they can get them connected with the supports and services they need. Knowing the warning signs of suicide is one of the most important first steps in prevention. It's also important to know the difference between warning signs and risk factors. A warning sign is the earliest detectable sign that indicates a person is at heightened risk for suicide in the near term. For example, within minutes, hours, or days. These are observable clues and behaviors. They relate to an individual's immediate state. Similar to the warning signs of a heart attack, such as chest pain or shortness of breath, the warning signs of suicide signal the potential for immediate or short-term crisis. Also similarly, It is a cluster of these signs that most strongly signal risk rather than only one or two warning signs. Risk factors are longer term, population level factors that are associated with greater risk. Risk factors do not cause suicide and are not in and of themselves an indication of immediate risk. To continue the analogy, risk factors of a heart attack might include older age, family history of heart disease, and lifestyle factors. Keep in mind that every individual and situation is different. What impacts one person profoundly might not have the same effect in another due to a wide variety of factors. Many people who have risk factors will not become suicidal. Warning signs indicate that someone may be thinking about suicide. If someone you know is showing one or more of these signs, don't wait. Get help immediately. It is especially important to get help if someone is exhibiting these behaviors in connection to a painful change, loss, or event. These warning signs include talking about wanting to die or to kill oneself, looking for a way to kill oneself, talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live, talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain, talking about being a burden to others, increasing the use of alcohol or drugs, acting anxious or agitated, behaving recklessly, sleeping too little or too much, withdrawing or feeling isolated, showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, displaying extreme mood swings. If you see these signs in yourself or someone else, reach out to someone you trust, a parent, friend, teacher, coach, or a counselor right away. Risk factors are issues in a young person's life that increase the likelihood or risk of them acting on suicidal thoughts. There are a number of things that may put a person at risk of suicide, including a family history of suicide, substance abuse. Drugs and alcohol can result in mental highs and lows that worsen suicidal thoughts. Intoxication. More than 1 in 3 people who die from suicide are found to be currently under the influence. A serious or chronic medical illness, serious mental health conditions, depression, anxiety disorders, bipolar disorder, and personality traits of aggression, mood changes, and poor relationships. Gender. Although more women than men attempt suicide, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. A history of trauma, abuse, and/or neglect, prolonged stress. Age. People under age 24 or above age 34 are at a higher risk for suicide. A recent tragedy or loss. Risk factors can be balanced out to a certain extent by the presence of protective factors. There are a range of protective factors that can help to reduce suicidal behavior, including strong, positive relationships with parents and guardians, feeling secure and supported, connections to other adults, teacher, coach, pastor, counselor, closeness to caring friends, school safety, feeling a sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves, community, culture, religion, sports team, and resilience. Did you know asking about suicidal thoughts or feelings won't push someone into doing something self-destructive? In fact, offering an opportunity to talk about feelings may reduce the risk of acting on suicidal thoughts. Asking someone directly if they are thinking about suicide is one of the most important parts of this conversation, but it can be difficult. We might be afraid of putting the idea in their head, or that bringing suicide up will cause it to happen. In fact, the opposite is true. Talking openly and directly about suicide is the first step in preventing it. Often people who are having thoughts of suicide isolate and don't share their thoughts for a variety of reasons. They may feel like they would be burdening their friends and loved ones, or may not believe anyone can or wants to help. Asking directly about suicide invites the person to talk openly about their thoughts and lets them know you are there to support them. It helps convey that you aren't scared to talk about suicide and can help them feel less alone. These conversations can release a pressure valve that begins the process for reducing risk. Remember to approach the situation with care and with open ears. If you do not know what to say, try one of these opening lines. I'm worried about you and would like to know what's going on so I can help. Are you okay? I noticed that you've missed school or practice a few times. It seems like something is bothering you. Do you want to talk about what's going on? Seems like you haven't been yourself lately. What's up? If you ask directly and your friend says yes, take it seriously. Immediately connect your friend to a trusted adult, a parent, counselor, coach, or teacher. Remain calm. Remember that just being present with them is helping to reduce their risk and keeping them safe. Thank them for their honesty and openness. Stay with them until they get help. Call 911 if it is an emergency. It's normal for kids and teens to talk to friends first, but it's important to recognize when our problems are serious. If a friend shares with you thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or previous suicide attempt, this is serious. You must connect with an adult right away. If you or a friend are in distress, do not try to handle it on your own. Find a trusted adult. This may be a parent, teacher, or counselor. Call 911 if risk of harm is immediate. Know the lifeline and text line numbers. To recap, don't delay in getting help. Don't try to handle it on your own. Be willing to listen without judgment and to ask directly if they are thinking about suicide. Tell an adult right away. Do not leave them alone. Stay with them until an adult is made aware and can step in to support. There are resources available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These resources are free and available to support people who are in crisis. The Lifeline is available 24/7 in English or Spanish. Calls are answered by trained counselors at the nearest crisis center. Lifeline also has online chat services. The counselor who answers the call can help sort through your concerns and how to have a conversation with someone you're concerned about. The Lifeline can be reached by calling 988 or through online chat at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. 24/7 crisis services are also available through the crisis text line by texting HOME, HOME, to 741-741. Don't forget self-care. Make sure you have supports in place to help you deal with your feelings and anxieties. Practice self-care, especially around stressful situations. Have you ever heard the oxygen mask on a plane analogy? You must put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help someone else. You can't effectively help others when you aren't well yourself. There are some tips for building self-care into your daily routine. They may seem simple, but a growing field of study on the basis of happiness demonstrates that they can be powerful. Exercise. Exercising at least 3 days a week has been shown to decrease feelings of stress, increase energy levels, and improve overall feelings of happiness. Healthy eating. Eating healthy doesn't have to mean a rehaul of your diet or committing to the latest diet fad. Small changes can make a big difference. People who eat meals high in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish, and nuts are 30% less likely to develop depression. Sleep. Sleep plays a major role in our overall health, improving emotional regulation and management of anxiety. 40% of adults sleep less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours at night. Kids between 13 and 18 should be getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. How many kids do you know who regularly get that much sleep? You can start now to build a better sleep routine. Turning off alerts and volume on your phone at night is one good practice you can start. Time off. Take time to do something you enjoy or just to change your routine. Even a small amount of time taken out of your day for fun can help. Get outdoors. On average, Americans spend 93% of their time indoors. Get outside. Nature and sunlight improves our mood, restores the spirit, and improves focus and clarity. Laugh. Laughter increases the release of feel-good endorphins and can lower blood pressure. Watch a movie or video that will make you laugh. Pausing, breathing, and just being is essential to our physical and emotional wellness, helping us reduce stress, worry less, and enhance feelings of resiliency. Talk with a friend. Close social relationships improve our self-confidence and help us cope with ups and downs in life. Take a walk with a friend or give one a call just to talk. We all possess a readily available and free tool that can be used to manage stress in the moment: our breath. Breathing exercises can be an exceptional coping and self-care tool that have been found to be effective at reducing stress in our lives. Breathing exercises have been found to not only be effective at reducing stress in our lives, but they are also remarkably easy to learn. Students, take a moment to practice the 4-7-8 breathing shown on the slide. Inhale to the count of 4, hold to the count of 7, and slowly exhale to the count of 8. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Remember that you and your friends are not alone. There is help. Reach out.